Well, Mans, the AFL trade period has officially started. So what are our aims heading into this trade period?
Yeah, it has officially started, and it's been talked about for a number of weeks and probably months now, with clubs talking about potential trade targets and the changes. So I think it's going to be a busy period overall for a lot of clubs. Moving into this period at the moment, we think our list is in a pretty good shape. We've been heavily involved in the draft for 4 years and then traded over the last 2 or 3 years to bring some experienced players in. We think it's an opportunity this year to add to a few different areas that we look at our list needs. One being a backup ruckman. We think we need a bit more run through our midfield as well, and also in our defence, probably some stiffening up probably with our tall defenders as well. So that's probably moving into the trade period what we're looking for.
There have been a lot of names thrown around. So what's the latest on Jesse Hogan, given that he hadn't decided on his future just yet?
Yeah, it's still us and Fremantle waiting on Jesse's decision at the moment. Probably to be clear, we said we're happy for you to speak to Fremantle and see that as an option. If he makes a decision, then after that we have to get a deal done with Fremantle, which we're happy with. We've said to Fremantle we want Jesse to stay. We still see him playing for Melbourne next year. But if there's a deal that's favourable enough to us, we'll look at it. So it's there's a few different pieces to play out with that. But we still think what Jesse's done in his first period of time in an AFL as a 23-year-old, been our leading goal kicker a number of times. It's a very prized player to have, and we know that the importance that he does for us, but also the importance that sort of position places for Fremantle as well. So certainly not something we're open to, but certainly not across the line yet.
And if that does happen, there's been talk of Stephen May coming from the Gold Coast. So does that interest still remain strong?
Yeah, there is interest. I mean, as a club, you have to look at all your different options when Jesse's making up a decision as he is. So we have a number of different scenarios. If Jesse stays, obviously we have some players we'll be interested in. If he does leave, we have to have some other players. And certainly Stephen May's been spoken about. He's got to make a decision, first of all, whether he leaves the Gold Coast. But we think with his age profile and position he plays, he would help our team. But there's a few things that have to land before that happens.
There have been a few other players talked about, such as Cade Kolajasny from the Suns as well, and Braden Parfitt. So where are we at with those ones? Yeah,
probably first of all on Cade. He's a player that recruiters liked in his draft here. He's been in the system now for 5 years. We think he'd be the type of player that would help us, particularly with that run and carry I spoke about earlier. We've spoken to Gold Coast. We think that something will happen during trade period, and hopefully Cade will join us next year.
And just on Braden Parfitt?
Yeah, Braden Parfitt fits in that category as a backup ruckman. He's played now, he's been in the system for a few years, played a lot of VFL footy and some AFL footy. We think his mature body would be a benefit for us. We think he'd be able to play as a backup role for Max, but also whether we play 2 rucks at different stages in the same team as West Coast did in the grand final. So he's one player we're interested in. We've had preliminary chats with the Kangaroos, but he's in contract there, so we'd have to do a trade there. And if it all works out, hopefully we'll get an opportunity to have Braden play for us next year as well.
And what about Dom Tyson, given he's exploring his options as well?
Yeah, we spoke about Dom in his interview at the end of the year, that there's a bit of lack of opportunities through the midfield, and it's probably because we've drafted heavily in the midfield, and a lot of our young midfielders have come through and played really well, and it's put him into a position to play out in a wing, which is not really suited to. So he's looking at the moment for other opportunities, which we're happy for him to look around. If he finds a club of his preference, then we'll look to do a trade for him. If not, as well, we're happy to have Dom back at our club to add to our midfield depth.
And also Dean Kent's decision to move to St Kilda, how's that looking?
Yeah, Dean came to us at the end of the year and said his preference is to move to St Kilda. We've had, again, chats with St Kilda. We think we'll be able to get a trade done there at some point. It's been a frustrating time for Dean, not probably lack of opportunity, but his injury run that he's had here with us, he's just a bit of lack of continuity. So he's got an opportunity to go to St Kilda. He's got a longer term deal there, and we thank Dean for his time at Melbourne, but hopefully we can get a good deal for him and his AFL career can continue.
And just Aaron Vandenberg as well. You've mentioned that you would like to keep him, so how's that looking as well?
Yeah, we would. I think we saw at the end of the year that the value that Aaron adds to us, he hadn't played for 2 years prior to that. It's through his own personal circumstances with his family that he's looked at potentially moving to Sydney. We're happy for him to look at that, but having said all that, we'd love Aaron to stay at our club. He's got a bit of decision making to do over the next few days, and hopefully it falls in our favour and he stays with Melbourne, and we can look forward to him playing through our midfield again as he did late in the year.
So overall a quiet first day, so when can fans really expect some movement?
I'd like to be able to tell you. It does. I mean, the first few days, everyone's just gathering information as they have over the last few weeks, and then we come back to our clubs and put up on whiteboards and do beautiful mind sort of drawings, and then we try to work out what's the best way for a club to go. But you think for in our scenario, there's a few of the bigger decisions that need to be made, and then other decisions will fall off the back of that. So hopefully it all gets done before next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. when the trade finishes up. So yeah, hopefully it all gets done. And our aim all the time is to make our list better moving into the new season, and you do that through trade period and also the draft. So hopefully the trade period, we come out of that in a positive way, and then we move into the draft and pick some good players.
Well, Mans, thanks for the update and looking forward to watching it play out.
No worries.